The supporters, of course, again, the Florida legislature who put it on the ballot. And we don't really have a list of people who are opposing this amendment right now. And I will, without any further ado, then I will give it back over to the Honorable Matt Gaetz, your representative from House District 4, who's going to tell you again both yes and no on Amendment 2.
And doesn't Amendment 2 sound so riveting when Paul reads the ballot description? Get goosebumps. I was also a sponsor of Amendment 2 in the Florida legislature, and Amendment 2 is a tax break for families of deployed military personnel. You know, the object of Amendment 2 is to say that we want Florida to be the friendliest state in all of America to military families. And when military families are trying to make a decision about where they're going to buy a home, where they're going to make the most significant investment of their lives, we want them to buy that home here in Northwest Florida to spur our economy, to get real estate transactions moving again, but even more important than that, to create an ownership society among people in the military. You know, when Americans are able to own something, whether it's their own home or their own decisions about education or healthcare, that builds for stronger communities, stronger families, and really a stronger area. And so this amendment, Amendment 2, hopefully takes a step in that direction. And here is practically how that plays out. If you are a deployed military member, a member of the armed services, and you're off in a war zone, you're now Afghanistan, Iraq, you won't be penalized for ad valorem property taxes in the state of Florida for those days that you're deployed. It eases some of the financial burden on military families, and it's going to encourage more military families to sink their roots right here in Northwest Florida. It's not only important for the economic element, it's not only important for the ease that it can add to some of these families, I think it's important symbolically. There are over 25,000 families in the state of Florida that Amendment 2 could provide tax relief for. And a good number of those live in Walton, Okaloosa, and Santa Rosa counties. So the chance to provide that tax credit to families here, that'll be a good thing for us because it'll be more money in the pockets of the family members that are still here. You know, I've talked to a lot of military families, and when someone is deployed to a war zone, that service that's really being performed not only by the deployed member, but for the spouse that's here in Northwest Florida that's raising a family. And so if we can give them a little more money in their pocket to turn those dollars locally, that's fundamentally how we think the economy ought to work. If people in our area are paying less taxes, that'll create more prosperity, whether it's through home buying or through more retail spending or any number of those things. So very important, I think, economically, symbolically, to give family members and families where there's a deployed military member, give them a tax credit only for those days that they are deployed. It's why I sponsored it. It's why it passed with really overwhelming bipartisan support. Republicans and Democrats generally agreed in the Florida legislature that this was a very positive step, particularly at a time when as a country we're fighting on so many fronts. That is the pro position for Amendment 2. Does anybody agree with that? There are some that would say that if Amendment 2 were to pass, it's going to, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. If Amendment 2 were to pass, it's going to create some very difficult decisions for local government. Because let's assume that you're the Okaloosa County Commission and the revenues fall. There are some that oppose Amendment 2 because they believe that taxes could increase for those who aren't deployed or don't have a family member deployed. So it could be a zero-sum shift in the tax burden. Philosophically, there are some who believe that we shouldn't create special carve-outs for any subset of our population. We shouldn't create any tax carve-outs for anyone. We should have a more uniform system of taxation, particularly in ad valorem, in the ad valorem component. If those local governments don't shift the tax burden, then they'll have to do what local governments never like to do, and that is cut spending. And there's an argument to be made that local governments won't want to react to Amendment 2 by shaving down spending, by changing millage rates, and doing the things necessary, in my view, to be responsible with your dollars and with the dollars that you pay in ad valorem property taxes. So a possible tax shift or a possible decrease in spending and services would be the reason that some people would oppose Amendment 2. Another reason some may oppose Amendment 2 is that many military families are renters, and so they might not realize the full benefit if they are renting. Of course, the position on the other side is that if they're renting now, let's give them every reason possible to buy and to make that significant investment. So those are the arguments on both sides of Amendment 2. Thank you all very much.